I want to tell you a true story. I do coaching, as I mentioned earlier. I'm in West Texas, and she's given me permission to talk about this. The name of the dentist, a fine dentist, done all of Frank Spear's work, is Allison Watts. And I'm in Allison's office. This is about 5 to 7 years ago. And I'm there for her a day and a half to watch her with new patients. And I'm going to be observing and making notes, et cetera. And I'm there when a patient comes back for what we call co-diagnosis. This was Barclay's. I don't know if you knew he defined that term. He's the first to ever use it, co-diagnosis. And where it's a collaborative examination. And so I'm in the consult room, and the patient comes in, and this is about a 48-year-old woman, and she's coming back for her second visit. We don't examine people who go to the dentist regularly on their first visit. That's another strange thing Barclay convinced me not to do, unless they've got an emergency. We get our full records, and then when we have full records, we bring them back, we orient them to the records, and then I come in and I do my diagnosis in a collaborative manner with them. And that's what was going to happen at Allison's office. And Sandy was the health relationship coordinator. So she brings Kim in. Kim is dressed in one of these velour jogging suits, ladies. You know what those are? You'd never really jog in one. They're kind of stylish, and her hair looks perfect, and yet she doesn't smile much. And when she does smile, you can catch a partial denture down below. And Sandy tells her that I'm there to observe. Would that be okay? Because Dr. Frazer will leave if not. And no, it's fine. And she said, well, we're going to sit down. And as they start to sit down, Kay says this, I can't believe it's going to be $20,000. Now, let me just remind you, she hasn't had an exam yet. She only came in for records and history. And so she sits down, and she shows her the models and the photographs, and they're on the computer. And as she's starting to do this, she says, yeah, but she said, I can't believe it's going to be $20,000. Second time she said it. Somebody says something 3 times, you want to respond to it. And she said, well, today we're not going to talk about the investment until Dr. Watts comes in and takes a look at all this, and together you'll determine what your choices are, and we can make a decision together. And she said, yeah, but I still can't believe it's going to be $20,000. So what did I do? I just couldn't sit there any longer, and I said, Sandy, can I ask Kay a question? She said, well, yeah, help. And I said, Kay, I noticed that you're very concerned about what the investment required to do this work is going to be. And it sounds like it's going to be a lot of money, and you've imagined it's going to be a lot. And that sounds scary to you, and maybe it's going to put you in a state of hardship, and maybe you're even confused as to what you're going to do today. And she said, oh, yeah. She lowered her arms and and she just got more relaxed, and she said, oh, I am. She said, I can't imagine. I don't think I can spend $20,000 like this immediately. Nobody's even talked to her about treatment yet. Do you understand that before your patients arrive, they've decided who you are? Yeah, Bill helped me understand that, the counselor. And so I said, well, I've got a curious question. How did you come up with $20,000? And she said, well, I came here to see Dr. Watts because I have 8 teeth that need to be veneered. Now, again, we're about 7 years ago. And she said, aren't veneers about $1,000? I said, yeah, that's about right. And she said, well, if that's the case, as we were talking the other day, and she was asking me all these very good questions, I realized how ill-fitting this partial was, and I realized these big black fillings that I have are beginning to fall apart, and I've even got a couple of teeth with pieces missing out of them. I went home and I counted, I have 12 other teeth. And 12 plus 8 is 20 teeth, right? That's $20,000. And then I always ask a question, and I hope all of you ask your patients. Barclay taught me this question. Tell me about your mom and dad. You know, people believe they're going to follow the footsteps of their moms and dads. Just ask them if you don't believe that. And she told me her dad never went to the dentist. He died when he was about 75 years old, 78 years old of heart disease, but never had a problem with any of his teeth. And her mom went in all the time. She had 2 rounds of periodontal surgery. She had bridges that were eventually replaced by partials that were eventually replaced by dentures. And she says she's 84 years old now and she has dentures. And what's my next question? Who are you more like? She said, I'm more like Mom. Do you see her prophecy is that I'm going to follow Mom's footsteps? And then she said, but I got to tell you something else, Dr. Frazer. I said, well, what's that? And she said, we were on a cruise for about 10 days, and I came back here to Midland, and my sister lives here, and I called her, how's Mom doing? She said, Mom's had a really bad upper respiratory infection. She'd been coughing her head off, and she's doing better now, but she went through a pretty tough period there. I didn't call you. I almost called you. And so she goes to the nursing home to see her. And when she went to the nursing home to see her, she said, Dr. Frazer, when I walked in there, she's in her bed, she's coughing slightly, and she doesn't have her teeth in. And I said, Mom, where's your teeth? And she said, well, the nurses, the aides, made her take them out because they were afraid she was going to aspirate them. Do you understand the emotions that are coming past me now? Why the $20,000? It's not the $20,000. It's I don't want to ever be like my mother. I don't want to ever be somewhere where somebody takes my teeth away from me. And I said to her, oh my goodness, so are you afraid that if you didn't do this and if somehow you'd lose your teeth? And then I asked her when her mother lost her teeth, and she told me, and I said, well, you know, that was 20 years ago. Dentistry's probably come 100 years in that 20 years. And Dr. Watts came in a little bit later and did the exam, and she did decide to go on with treatment. But do you understand it was about the emotions? It was not about the $20,000.